Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 208 of the new series of the Cognitive podcast, and this one is called Getting On With It, because that's what we're doing. Of course, I couldn't resist. While I don't drink myself, I did stick a meme at the top of the show notes, which I found rather funny, where two women are drinking, they're wearing Edwardian clothing, and one is saying, they're drinking tea, and beautiful teapot, china everywhere. One says, the tea tastes delightful today, Beatrice. What's it called again? And the other one says, Jack Daniels. I think that's kind of the way we all feel, and you might as well laugh. If you would like to see the show notes of which I speak, you can go to our blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can go to the show notes in our group on Ravelry. Okay, in the warm thanks department, I'd like to thank Lynn T. for a delicious coffee. I really appreciate the love, and it was just a little emotional boost to see that pop up in my email. Thank you, Lynn. I really am complimented, and it was a good week to send it to me. Let's face it. I also want to thank the Knitmore girls for an excellent FaceTime. And I want to lament that I did not touch base with our Lex this week. I'm thinking of everybody I know up in the Bay Area now. You can probably hear that. But anyway, ladies, it was lovely to see you again. Gigi, you look much more involved and lively and improved is what I would say. I mean, last time I saw you, you were involved and everything, but you just had more energy about it this time. It was really great to see you both. Jasmine, those trousers, amazing. Having said that, what you are probably thinking is on my hooks and needles. If you are thinking that, you haven't been listening to the last few episodes, have you? I feel like I'm not making any progress and you've heard all this. But I did finish the first of the Yule Socks 2024. And that will give me the excuse to say there's a picture of it in the show notes. It looks a little bruised. How can I say this? It's green and red, but the red not as regular as maybe I wanted. I don't think I was on the gauge of the yarn as it was painted, designed, whatever, but I really do like those socks. I am well into the ribbing of the second one. You know I do my socks top down, right? This is beautiful stuff. This is from one of our sponsors for the most recent CFR, Nanette Wake Studio, and she is on Etsy, and I've got the link also to her direct site at the bottom of the show notes. But there it is, the first of the Yule Socks, Tarantara. Meanwhile, the stash toss hasn't changed. We are 43 skeins in versus 61 out. I'm not really sure where all those skeins came from. When I look at the in skeins, I'm thinking, I don't remember buying 41 skeins, and I'm trying to figure out what that's about. I'd have to go back through my old shows and figure that one out. However, I have not yet gone anywhere on the socks from Steffi Joe. I didn't touch the 10 square bag. I didn't touch the Lakeside cardigan or Vestuary 24. You can probably tell what I'm planning to do over Thanksgiving, can't you? Yes, you can. And no spinning, although there's a lot of tempting fiber sitting around me here. So that's going to lead us into the strategy for the week, or the strategies in this case. So again, facing what our country is currently doing to us, I'm sorry to be grim, this would be a good time to consider your web privacy. And there's two ways I would be considering that right now. There's probably more, but these I heard suggested this week, and I just think they're great. One was get a virtual private network. If you haven't signed up for one, now they're all over the place. Google will try to give you one as part of its package. I'm using Nord, N as in Nancy, O, R as in Robert, D as in dog. I use Nord, and I would get a VPN. I would just say any one of your computers that connects, especially anything with any financial stuff on it, I would have a VPN on it. These are easy enough to do. Just Google VPN. You will find out that Nord is the best-selling one currently. It's got the most locations to choose from. Essentially, I can go into Nord and I can connect from one of Nord's locations that my signal goes to them and then they redirect it. And so it covers your internet address. And I happen to like to go to places that are 6 or 7 hours ahead of me. So when you hear this, it will probably have been broadcast in and recorded and sent through Iceland. I really like Nord. It's been a good experience with them. They offer a range of services. No, they don't sponsor me, and I'm not going to advertise their other services, but I've been very happy with their VPN. There are VPNs. McAfee, Web Security, they have a VPN. There's just VPNs all over the place. But Nord has a really good reputation. That's who I've been working with. The other thing, I've talked about it before, and I will be doing it again very soon, and that is you want to get off the cloud any way you can. And that's very easy to do because now external hard drives are so huge and it's not expensive, relatively speaking. When you consider what you pay for a Microsoft 365 type of membership, basically in 2 years, your home storage mega drive is going to pay you back for that, and then you never have to pay it again. So it'll pay itself off in about 2 years. I am using 4 terabyte external drives. I keep one in a safe deposit box in a bank in town and another at home. And every 6 months, I take everything I can off the cloud. I also do things like I take all the photos off my phone, everything, and I store them on the 4T drive. And then every 6 months, I also fetch the other one from the safe deposit box. And now that I have cleared everything that I can off the drive onto my 4T that I kept at home, I then tell the 4T from home to copy everything onto the 4T that I keep in the safe deposit box. And I tell it, don't copy the files you already have. So it doesn't take very long at all. I plug these in. I join them together by using my PC, and I've got one PC off the cloud, and that's where I do that. So this stuff gets everything, sucks everything off the cloud, and I try not to replace it. That's very hard to do in my job. There are definitely files that to do my job the most effectively, I have to pass them through the cloud. Notices, training handouts, all sorts of things like that. My stuff for my patients is kept in an electronic health record that I don't have control of, that is very secure, and that is held by other people on other servers. I am not talking about patient records, God forbid. One of the things you learn in my job, if you write anything for a patient with one big exception, you put it in their chart. And then the chart's on the EHR. And whoever is employing you, they're responsible for the EHR. So you've done what you can to keep the records safe. The one exception is if you do child abuse reports, you can't store them in the chart, and your corporation, whoever you're working with, your agency, has to store it in a separate secure place. And again, you turn it over to your quality assurance and you wave goodbye to it. And you don't worry about that. But anyway, the 2 strategies for this week are really one, and that is you really want to look at your privacy on the web. This is one of the places where you are the most vulnerable. And so I would really strongly recommend a virtual private network and using that. And also I would get as much stuff off the cloud as you can possibly get off the cloud. Please remember, if you're plugged in to another computer, and that includes anything on the cloud like Netflix, while you read their computer, so you're watching things on Netflix, a good hacker working out of that computer can read your computer. And so you really don't want to have anything to be read on the cloud. That is pretty hard to do these days. So do what you will with it, but I am really fond of those big 4 terabyte external drives. I literally do not believe I can fill that no matter how long I live at this point. I have had mine and put the bulk of my stuff from all my past life on it. I'm at half a terabyte. And from this point on, I don't expect to generate nearly as much stuff in terms of records and whatnot. So get yourself a VPN and start looking into how you want to store things on an external drive and suck it off your computer. And it is true, I am storing things like my Amazon books. I had to work at that, but you actually can download your Amazon books and then move the files over to your own drive and still read them through your Amazon e-reader. Another way, if you want to save your Amazon books, get a Kindle that does nothing but Kindle. In other words, don't use your tablet as you can use your tablet as a Kindle to read, but actually get a Kindle and store all your books on the Kindle and then keep your Kindle off the cloud. I have one completed Kindle sitting on my shelf, and frankly, I'm going to go get myself another one. First Kindle has 600 books on it. That is a fabulous way to store things. But right now, virtual private network, I recommend Nord. And then also get all your stuff off the cloud that you can onto a multiple terabyte external drive. And again, if you really want to go for it like I do, have two of them. Copy one to the other every 6 months, then keep one away from your premises in a fire-safe location. Oh, shoot. Well, it was exciting this weekend. That is my beloved son and I, ran the Santa Clarita 5K. You can see our finish line picture where we're looking pretty happy together. And you can also see my results. I actually beat my time marginally from the Monster Dash. I got it down to 40 minutes and 47 seconds. And I got it down to, my pace was 13 minutes and 7 seconds per mile. Again, I think I did that first mile in about 11 minutes. So I was probably much slower on that last mile. I felt it. I felt very leaden in my legs in that last mile. Now this one was interesting because I had a pacer or a drafter. This woman who was running and walking, like she would sprint and then walk. And she was staying with me because she found my pace to be what she wanted. So I would go by her and then she would sprint past me. Then she'd stay right in front of me and then she would walk and I would go by her and so on. And this is very annoying, but it's very commonly done. And I'm not a fast runner. I'm running every step and she's doing this. So anyway, I thought that's okay because going into the very end, we went under a bridge, which means you go downhill steep and uphill steep. Then we went around a corner and into the chute in the park. And I thought, all right, I'm going to lose her on that hill because I can really chug up a hill. I run hills in the desert all the time. And I did. I got well in front of her. I'm coming down the chute and I see all the people looking at me and then they're all going, whoa. And I realize she's back there and she's going to beat me. No, she didn't. She began to pass me. I saw her come past my left shoulder and I said, I got one sprint left in me. She didn't have it in her, and I came charging down that chute, and I'm really proud of that. It's just a little cold-hearted when you're using somebody else that way to then say in the last minute, and now I've used you for my pace pony, and I'm going to sprint past you. That's just a little rude. You know, you usually let them come in front of you as a sort of thanks, for being my pace runner. So I got a little angry, so I did beat her. It's those little petty victories, Sometimes you just need a little petty victory. The other thing I wanted to tell you about officially, although I've been putting up vids or reels on my Instagram, is what I'm thinking of as the Q Project. Now, Q's Greenland is an account on Instagram. Q is an Inuit who lives in Greenland. I believe she's an engineer. Anyway, I can't say her real name. I can't pronounce Inuit well enough, and it would just sound like me doing an embarrassing imitation at this point. But Q wants to run her first marathon in March of 2025. She'll be running it in Greenland on ice and snow. I respect that. There's no way I'm going to do that if I could help it. However, she feels ready to do that. Doesn't intimidate her like it does me. So she decided this month to go for 3 goals. Wait for it. This is really bold. Number 1, she said she was giving up sugar. Number 2, she was going to do intermittent fasting from, I think it's 10 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning. And number 3, she was going to run 100 kilometers. which is slightly over 60 miles. I do think in mileage. Okie dokie. And that's a lot of mileage inside of a month, considering that the first day she only ran 2K. 2K, not very much. Okay? And I thought, how are you going to do that in 30 days? How are you going to get 100 clicks out of that? Anyway, I told her, I said, I'm going to do it with you. Now, of course, I already do intermittent fasting. I do it from about 7 at night to about 10 in the morning. But frankly, I do it even more than that. I finished eating tonight at 6. And I don't expect to eat tomorrow till about 1 in the afternoon. So, I'm really hardcore on this. And then, of course, the sugar. This has been hard to watch. She's posting videos every day, and the sugar, giving up the sugar is so hard on her. She's really suffering. I mean, one night she did break down, and I forget what she ate. When she says she's giving up sugar, she's still eating fruit. She's still eating other carbs. Therein, if you're me, lies the problem. I am going to tell you, I used to go on month-long fasts when I was in my 40s. And I was a carbohydrate eater. And those fasts were so hard. They were so hard. And you know what? Now when I go on fasts that I'm a keto eater, I don't even notice them. You just don't even notice that if you have enough healthy fat intake and your protein is good, you can fast. It just isn't a big deal. The other thing you need to know, you can never have zero carb. You can't. Even meat has trace amounts of carb. Vegetables have carb. I mean, you can go heavy-duty vegetable carb if you have a potato, which I don't eat, or rice. But the point is, if you're a carb eater, and I have nothing against that, if you're a carb eater, if you even eat moderate amounts of carb, fasting is a lot harder. Because if you're used to burning carb, you're going to perceive that as loss of energy. Carb is like lighting a match compared to fat is like burning a log in your fireplace. A match lights fast and hot and then burns away fast. That's what it's like to burn carb. So keto is very different that way. Since you're adjusted to burning fat, you burn any carb. I mean, humans always burn carb first. You don't get away from that. But if you're used to burning fat, then you burn your carb and you switch over to fat fairly efficiently. And your body's used to that and you don't feel any loss. And also, I don't have a lot of carb to burn. So poor Q, because she's saying she's not eating sugar, she's not drinking Coke or eating candy bars, but she's eating fruit, which is carb-laden. She's talking about, I was miserable, so I ate an apple, and I'm slapping my forehead going, oh no, that's going to be so hard. Look, there's a lot of good fiber in apples. This is why I have nothing against people eating carb, because that fiber is great for you in the apple, but apple juice is pure sugar. So, she's making it hard on herself. That what I would say is if you wanted to do this kind of project, before I started training for the marathon, frankly, I would spend about 8 weeks trying to do keto. And I wouldn't do low sugar, I would do keto. At least I would do paleo, which keto is a more strict subset of paleo. So she's really suffering doing this. At the same time, she's managing to get those clicks in, but the kilometers, but she's finding it very painful as it is. So meanwhile, I'm out here and I'm running it with her, and I set up a sheet in Google, which is really Excel, and I set up a sheet to track it and convert it from mileage, which I get on my phone, to convert it to kilometers on the sheet. Right now, we are at November 10th as I record this, and that's a third of the way through the 30-day month, of course. And I have done 20.15 miles, which is 32.42 clicks. I'm trying to get to 100 clicks. I'm slightly lower than I need to be. I'm like a click away from about 1 full kilometer less than I'd like to have right now. What I really like about this is it's making me realize that I can run every day. And what I'm doing is I've reset my 5K trainer to go out on mornings that are my off days and just go out and do about 2 miles. Yeah, I was doing about 2 miles with it, I think. And that feels really good to do that. Let me see how I did that. Yeah. So I can run that. One of them, actually, I did that on Saturday. I ran 2 days of the 5K program, and that brought me to 3.28. So I'm really running about 1.6 on where I am in that program now. But it's a very easy run, a lot of walking and just intervals. So I'm slowly working my way up, and I'm hoping that I can run most days now. I had gotten kind of sloppy and was running every other day, and I really don't want to do that. I really would like to run more like 2 days and then a day off. And I was getting real sloppy and tired, and I'll talk about why that happened in the blather. But anyway, it felt good to run yesterday, Saturday, and today, and Friday. In fact, I've run 3 days in a row. Look at me go. I wonder if I should take tomorrow off. Anyway, so that's where I am on the Q project, about roughly a third of the way into it. I hope I can make it. Meanwhile, upcoming, you can see the next race, as I record this, is 17 days away. That is the Turkey Trot. Of course, that is also on Thanksgiving Day, which makes me really happy. Yes, we are 17 days from Thanksgiving. And you can see the logos for my other upcoming races. Still looking for that elusive January race. I hate to go from December 21st to February 16th without a race. Gotta figure something out. In the Fluffy books, I'm now on the last or most recent of the Flavia Albia books, which is called Death on the Tiber. In the series that comes before Flavia Albia, that of her stepfather, Marcus Didius Falco, towards the end, the author, Lindsay Davis, started involving Falco with some of the gang activity that we know went on in Rome. And the last Falco book, it gets very brutal about it, where he's really just totally done with these gangsters who are so vicious. And it's this huge whopping finale to the Falco series. And then she moves on to Flavia Albia. Moves forward a few years on the clock, And so she's bringing back a lot of that in Death on the Tiber. According to the book jacket, I have just started it. I'm enjoying it. These have not been quite as good. The latest Flavia Albias have not really been as much fun as the Falcos or as the early Flavia Albia. However, it's one of those series where you love the cast of characters and it's fun to just check in with them, and so I will. Over at nighttime, I'm listening to Georgette Heyer, as you know, and I just started Regency Buck, which is very much a Georgette Heyer kind of hero. The very quiet, self-possessed, controlled high nobleman. Not the highest nobleman in this case. This one is interesting. I think this may have been her first Regency. I mean, I know she wrote The Black Moth was her first book, but I think that's set earlier in time. And it feels like it, that she's trying to give you this massive tour of the upper crust of the Regency. So she is integrating a lot of historical events, a lot of historical characters. At the same time, she's really interested in how the gentlemen of the era lived and their norms. What's interesting, too, is that it's very much a counterpoint to Jane Austen's work, which is kind of upper middle class, somewhat into the nobility in the Regency, and it's very much the point of view of the women. And Heyer is interested, like, what are all these guys doing with this abundant wealth? These guys are fabulously wealthy by our standards, and they're all living these lives of leisure. And so she spends a lot of time on that in Regency Buck. It's an interesting book. It's sort of like a tour to the era, is all I can say, written through a very male-oriented point of view. Something I really like, two things. One is in my email, I was just getting swamped with junk mail. My most commonly used email got on everybody's junk lists. And I finally discovered that the way to end that, or to at least slow it down hugely, is first, when you see something you don't want, you look at the top, and it may say unsubscribe. It says this email is from a list, unsubscribe. And you click on that. Yes, this is on an iPhone. What you're doing on Android, good luck, figure it out. But that doesn't do enough. You also have to go down to the little reply arrow and click on it, and it will offer you a menu, a pop-up menu, and you go down that menu until you find Send to Junk. These two things together have cleared out my mailbox amazingly in the last couple weeks, so that my most frequently used mailbox is now worth using again. But again, it's the two things in unison. I have tried them separately. For some reason, it's the combination. So first, you do the unsubscribe if it's offered to you. It may not always be. And then you do the send to junk. what interested me about that was once I got rid of all the insane political garbage, clearly being pushed out there by bots on the right, was I came down to all this stuff that was marketing stuff to me, stuff that I bought in the past. And it really hit me that I don't need this stuff, that I know where I buy the things that I use. They are always going to be out there on the web. I don't have to be subscribed to them. I have an app for Joann Fabrics. I don't need 3 emails a day. And the same for Michael's. And the same for BJ's Restaurants and any other restaurant you can name. So I just have now been weeding out all the marketing. As a result, my mail's a lot nicer than it used to be. However, something I really, really like, I got the Plum Deluxe Advent Calendar for herbal teas for this year. You can see a picture of it. It came... Actually, it must have come almost a week ago, and I didn't get it from the post office. My hubs brought it home, I think, Thursday, and it was such a relief. I was in such a slough of despair after last week. Last week felt like anything that could go wrong did go wrong. And to suddenly get handed the Advent calendar, and better than that, I had forgotten I had ordered it. I knew I had a Plum Deluxe order coming. I thought it was just some random teas. And then to make it even better, and that's put a lid on it, I got a packet of the pears and cinnamon herbal that I bought with the Advent calendar to get free shipping. In other words, if you're going to pay $8 for shipping, why don't you just pay $8 for a packet of the tea you love? And I have not had pears and cinnamon in a few months. And oh gosh, it's good hot. And I don't use any sweetener. I don't use stevia. I don't use anything. And it doesn't need it. And that pear flavor came through and the cinnamon is sweetening it. Bless you, Plum Deluxe. I think you may have saved my sanity this week. So once again this year, we will be doing the tea tasting starting in December when I rip open that wonderful, wonderful Advent calendar. It's a good price for what they give you. They give you 2 little baggies of each tea for each day. One for you and one to share. Yeah, good luck on that one. I just love the Plum Deluxe Advent calendar. I love Advent calendars anyway. I think this idea that you get something and you get a little treat every day is wonderful. However, I think the Advent calendar logic has gotten way overpriced, way overmarketed, and way expensive. So Plum Deluxe is a welcome change. The blather. Well, we have to get on with it, don't we? After the disasters of last week, I have to listen to patients gloat. Fortunately, it's easy. You just look at them and you go, this is not therapy. I don't know what you're doing right now. And they usually come into line, which is nice. Most of them have enough boundaries not to do this to any of their doctors, which is a relief to me. However, it's going to be a long week. Meanwhile, I heard about an email scam. I saw a TikTok that got circulated onto Instagram, and it goes like this. You get an email with your name, well, your last name, your phone number, and your address, and then this long threatening letter that says they're watching you and they've seen you on a porn site and they're coming after you, etc. Block it, unsubscribe, junk it, say it's junk mail, report it to your internet browser people. It's just a scam. The people who can buy your email on mailing lists, the people who are profiting off all those algorithms that hear your voice on your phone and Alexa and everything else, those same people can buy a list with your name, your phone number, and your address linked. And that's what this is. I saw that TikTok and I thought, wow, well, I'll never get anything like that. That's probably more rare, or I'm not on enough lists. Nope, I got it. I got it yesterday. And I looked at it, I skimmed it because it's very violent and aggressive. And then I just looked at it. The email, I'm sure, is a phony. It's a Gmail address with somebody's proper name. I'm sure they stole that off a list, and that probably is a real Gmail account out there somewhere. So in other words, they're trying to make me file a complaint against some innocent person. And so I just blocked it and put it in the junk bin and sent a message to my Yahoo Mail account saying this is a scammer. So I want you to know about that. Next, so here we are and we have to get on with it. And I've seen a lot of suggestions, and I think the two strains of thought that are appealing to me: one, do the practical stuff like I've been trying to talk about in the strategies. Update your passport, update your license, update any forms of ID, block your computer, do all that kind of maintenance stuff. At the same time, please consider it's time to really upgrade your self-care. And mostly what we're talking about when I say this is the self-care that falls under emotional management strategies. You know, eat, sleep, move, focus. So this week, I returned to yoga, doing a 10-minute timer every morning. And I set a 5-minute timer and a 10-minute timer. In the first 5 minutes, I play music and I do yoga. And that is meditative because the yoga I do, Iyengar yoga, is standing yoga. If you do it wrong, you fall over. So you've got to stay pretty focused. So that's very meditative. And I work my way, as I think I've said before, from the top of my head down to my feet, stretching and moving all the parts based on yoga and also on belly dancing warm-up exercises. And when that first alarm goes off, I wind up the yoga. And then I sit on the floor and I sit in meditation for 5 minutes, just pushing thoughts away. Because we're going to have to do a lot of pushing ugly thoughts away. And so it's time to really practice it by doing a brief meditation. And that's good, because meanwhile, I have to see my doc in 2 weeks, I think. And it's a long story, but she wants me to take statins. As you know, I don't believe in them. And they make me feel confused and sick, and they cause me pain, physical pain. So I've had all these hysterical doctors and threats and bullying and everything else, because these are corporate docs. And they've been told, one of them told me off the record back at the beginning of the COVID quarantine. She told me that they're ordered to do this. Whether they believe or not is not important. That is the policy of the corporation they work for, that everybody needs to be on statins. So anyway, I just decided, okay, I did my homework and I'm hacking that so that I can go have my blood tested, check in with a non-hostile doctor, and then go back to, basically I'm shamming it. I'm hacking my blood for this. So unfortunately, though, while I'm doing this, I'm in a lot of pain from the meds. And I'm reaching that moment where there's enough buildup where occasionally I'm forgetting things or feeling confused or having trouble keeping track of my own thinking. These are all documented side effects of statins. The most conservative estimate is that 10 to 15% of us have this reaction. Many people think far more people have this. Okay, so I've been going through that. Hopefully I get my blood test on Thursday and I go cold turkey on these things and I recover. To my surprise, I was getting to be in a lot of pain last week. That was part of my bad week last week, although God knows there were other things going on, as you know, on the national level. But I had also stopped eating my salmon soup, which I crave because it is a really healthy set of fats. It's very good stuff. And this weekend, I was in so much pain, and I happened to be by Trader Joe's because I ran out of our salmon that we order every 6 weeks. And I went into Trader Joe's and I bought a couple pounds of wild-caught salmon. And I used about half of it to make the soup. And I ate a ton of the soup yesterday. And I did not have all that pain today when I was running. Yesterday I was running, I was in agony. Ran the same course that I ran today for the race with my son. And I was miserable. Today was like a whole different experience because I was glugging down the salmon soup. I'm assuming that's about the fat, the salt, and the omega-3 fatty acids. So I learned a big one. Before that, I was trying to use a sort of soup I made with tomato sauce and chicken and ground beef. And it just does not have the same effect that the salmon soup has for me. So anyway, hopefully, by the time you hear this, I will be off the statins again and long past this reaction. We just have to hope, because it is really getting to the point of excruciating pain. And my doctors simply tell me, oh, I've heard you're wrong, you're a liar, The current doctor says, I've never heard of that. And I just looked at her and said, you're gaslighting a patient. Do you guys do that? And she went brick red. And I just said, you can say that all you want. My patients talk to me about this. It is all over the internet. You are gaslighting me. That's disrespectful. We don't treat our patients that way in psychotherapy. Shame on you. So we'll see. But I have an appointment with her. We'll see how that goes. I don't even care. I'm just getting the blood test done. So that's it. But, the point is we've got to keep on keeping on. We've got to move on with things now and do what we're going to do under things as they are going to be. That is so easy to say, isn't it? And really just terrifying if you start thinking about the implications. I'm deeply grateful to be living in California right now. Let me put it that way. All right. Under this, in the show notes, you will find the community resources. One of these days, hopefully Thanksgiving, where I have a lot of work to do, I'm going to sit down and integrate the list of the CFR 10 sponsors into that list of community resources. It'll basically be put under my favorite resources to buy, I think. But there it will go. And I will go through those lists, hopefully, and check to make sure they're still valid. But you can see the books I've used. You can see my favorite resources to buy to support knitting, crocheting, weaving, and whatnot. And you can see links to the skills and techniques that I've talked about. Also, I updated the image of my Linktree and my Linktree. You have to click on the link that says my Linktree. There's a nice picture of my Linktree there, and you can see the kind of things I link to without clicking on anything, but that is only an image. Okay, and under that we have the calendar. And on the calendar I've got the groups that I know of that are meeting in the Santa Clarita Valley for craft work. And below that, I have my calendar. Hope you like it. Don't know how much you care, but anyway, I have off from November 28th to December 1st for Thanksgiving. Anybody wants to do a meetup, kids, let me know. And of course, that all starts on the 28th with the turkey trot that my son and I will be doing on the rather challenging course over in Central Park in Valencia. Think kindly of us. You got to hurt yourself Thanksgiving morning if you're a runner so that you feel entitled to eat. We live on guilt. What can I tell you? Rome Mule will be December 21st for me, I think it's through the 29th. And of course, that starts with the Jingle Jog 5K up in Marie Kerr Park in Palmdale. Hello, Loretta. And then there's the Cupid Dash in February and so on into the next year, leading up to, of course, CFR 11 on October 11th, 2025. Finally, Minerva gets the last word. Well, Minerva, you can see a picture of her, and I had to really contort myself to take this. I am sitting in the command chair, and so is she. She is between the small of my back and the back of the chair. And there's a big red arrow to show you where she is. She's at the very bottom of the picture looking up. And this is because this week Minerva has realized I have been distressed. So Minerva says, I saves you. I has the command chair now. That Minerva has been in my lap and with me. She's in the room now, dozing in the corner. I'm surprised. She's really out like a light. She's got her head upside down and everything. But she has been coming in and sitting on my lap as much as she can. This is not easy for her because I've been wearing flannel skirts in the cool weather. And she gets on the flannel and she overheats, but she loves the flannel because it's so soft. So when she can't stand me anymore because I'm too hot, she then tries to creep up behind me in the chair. And you can see a picture of her doing that. Minerva understands that the command chair is the heart and soul of the house. That is, that's where I am sitting as I issue my orders and I am faithfully obeyed by my minions. Well, not quite. But anyway, she knows that the command chair is highly significant to me. So now in the cool weather, if we walk out of the house for anything, when I come back, Minerva's in the command chair. So obviously she's trying to save me. She believes the important stuff happens there. You have to love your pets because they're willing to make sacrifices like this. Speaking of sacrifices, are you working for your community? We're going to need that now more than ever. Remember, we are part of a larger community. And when you work for the community, you are working for the individual. You are working for yourself. On that happy note, everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.